Welcome to the Real Raw You podcast, a podcast where we talk about real life issues and giving yourself permission to be your real, authentic self. I'm your host, Rebecca Alexandria. I'm so excited you're here, and I can't wait to dive into this week's episode. Hey everyone, welcome back to the pod. I wanted to do a episode where I just kind of talked about why I wanted to do a podcast called Real Raw You. And it really all started years ago when I was probably a teen and in my early 20s. And I just remember going through a lot of changes in my life, feeling a lot of different emotions, not really knowing who to go to, who to talk to, was unable to really find a safe place because sometimes the people I would go to, either they were like, I never struggled with this, I've already overcome it or came it, and so they kind of were like, you're on your own. Some people didn't want to talk about it. So it just became very, very difficult. And I remember one time just sitting in my house, and I remember just kind of meditating on Jesus and the people that he encountered in the Bible. And I just kind of got this image of like what it's like to have Jesus come and sit beside you, and when you're going through something and when you're struggling, and he doesn't condemn you, he doesn't shame you, but what he does is he simply says, me too, I understand what you're feeling. And to me, I always felt like a me too. Now, granted, there is a Me Too movement, and I'm not talking about that, but I'm talking about in a sense of the compassion and to be able to relate in a sense of understanding what someone's going through. And Jesus is the best one to minister to us all the time because he knows what it's like. There's nothing that we go through on this earth that he didn't face, that he didn't feel. And so when he sits down beside us, when we are going through and we need someone to talk to, and we need someone to lean on, when we need someone to encourage us to any of those things, he's the greatest person because he literally goes, me too. I know what it's like. I know what you're feeling. And I also know what it's like to overcome it. And so my mission behind, or the mission behind Real Raw You is, I want people who listen to this podcast to feel safe, to feel seen, to be heard, to feel loved, to know that there's nothing in this world that you're going through that somebody else hasn't already walked through as well. Yeah, it may be different, but there's still similarities. And to encourage you to know that you can overcome it. We overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. And so I want people to know who listen to this podcast that, yeah, I want people to laugh. I want people to, talk about real things. And I'm still praying about how I want to even shift this podcast, And I believe that's okay too. Sometimes you may start out one way and then you kind of shift it to see how God decides he wants to do it. But I just want people to know that they're seen, that they're heard, and that there's others out there who go, me too. I know what it's like to build, to be an entrepreneur, and maybe struggling right now to pay my bills. I know what it's like to have watched pornography and struggle with a pornography addiction, but I overcame it. I know what it's like to not have this, or even the good things. I know what it's like to walk in favor and abundance, and whatever it is that you may, whatever season that you find yourself in. I always hope that when people listen to it, they can see a little bit of themselves in the person that either I have on, or even in myself, in my story. I also want people to not be afraid to share their story. Too many of us, because of shame and because of embarrassment and because we're trying to protect our reputation, we don't want people to know that we struggle. If you go on social media right now, it is nothing but highlight reels. And it can be very, actually, you got to be careful, at least for me, because in all transparency, especially if I know the people, you know what I mean? Or I knew part of their story, and I go and sometimes you just like look and you're like, that's a lie, that's a lie, that's a lie. And you kind of get this sense of, I don't know the word to say, but this sense of people putting on, you know, because they want to seem better than whatever, or they want to come off a certain way, or they're looking for another door, and so they're trying to, um, you know, leverage something or whatever it is. I've even talked to people, and I remember one time sharing, like, doing something on social media, and someone was like, oh, I can't do that because I have a particular group of people who follow me and blah blah. And I get it. Like, if you have a certain feed and you want it to look a certain way, I think that's great. I think you do have to cater to your audience, but I think sometimes we have to be careful, because in that process we're really just trying to live up to an image. And the image that we always try to strive to be, a lot of times on social media, isn't always our current image. And I want people to know that it's okay, that you don't have to always post or be the best or at your best. It's okay at times to not be okay. And it's okay to embrace your story, flaws and all. You don't stay there. So I'm not glorifying staying in a place, right? But I want to show people what it really looks like to have victory in areas where the enemy wants to shame you and make you think that you cannot be an overcomer in the area. I'm speaking to people who have stories, who have testimonies, who are overcomers, whether they believe they are or not, who don't have to put on, who can be their real self, who can take their identity in God and run with it and go, this is who I am. Some days I'm showing up, I may be well put together. Some days I may show up and I literally got here by prayer and I don't even know what else. The Lord literally he brought me, okay? And all those are beautiful because they're you. It's a part of your story to take back the broken pieces and rewrite what you want. And so that's why I did this podcast, because I want to put an end to shame. I want to put an end to guilt and condemnation. I want to put an end to people feeling like they have to be fake and phony and that they can't share the real them with people because they're afraid if they walk into rooms and they are the real them that they're going to be rejected. When in reality is that you lack nothing. And so there's nothing these rooms can't give you that you already don't have. You get to go into these rooms and change the rooms for the gospel, but you shouldn't let the rooms change you. And so take back your voice. Take back your identity. Take back who you are. Don't be ashamed to be you. Don't be ashamed to wear your scars. Jesus will forever have the beautiful scars in his hands and in his feet to show us what he walked through, what he went through, because he loved us so much. He paid a price, and we get to see the price in his hands and in his feet and on the back of his body as that symbol that says, this is my symbol of love for you. So take back those things. Take back that space that you've said, I can't be this person, I can't share this, I can't whatever, because that's not true. I think about some of the greatest stories that you ever hear, some of the greatest artists, some of the greatest entertainers, actors, all of those things. And none of those people, when you really think about it, a lot of them had a story. That's what makes it so great. That's what makes them stand out. The triumph story. Take back your triumph story. Take back who you are in God and allow all of those things to be a testimony for somebody else to know that, guess what? You overcame it, and now somebody else can overcome it too, because there's no shame in it. This is who I am. This is what I walk through. This is the things that I have to sometimes battle with. These are just some of the things that God deals with my heart about it. I'm not perfect. I don't strive to be perfect. I don't even strive to be loved anymore. I'm learning how to walk out of trying to strive to be loved and all those things and all these expectations that people put on me. I just wake up each day, and my heart prayer has been lately, more so recently, but lately is, I just want to be aware of your presence and who I am in you. Give me the victory that I need, that I already have in you. And allow me to walk in that. Let me own my voice. Let me not be afraid to walk in these spaces and places thinking I'm not enough, thinking whatever. But I'm real, I'm raw, I'm my authentic self. And I allow my story to be a testimony for those around me of God's goodness, of His mercy, of His kindness, of His generosity. And I don't try to put on to be something that I'm not. This is who I am. And I'm constantly being changed more and more to the image of who God is. But this is me. So, and I love me, and I'm proud of me. And I want other people to love themselves, be proud of themselves, and to be themselves. So that's my mission behind Real Raw You. To be your real, authentic self in every situation, in every season, through every trial, through every victory. And to know that you're never alone, that the things that you walk through, you're not by yourself, that there's a space and a place for everyone to be seen, loved, heard, and valued. Thanks for listening. Hi everyone, welcome to the Real Raw You podcast, a podcast where we talk about real life issues and giving yourself permission to be your real authentic self. I'm your host, Rebecca Alexandria. I'm so excited you're here, and I can't wait to dive into this week's episode.